EBI 12 is in the books. UFC 2 something happened. I remember parts, but John Jones might have knocked the memories full out of me, proving once again fighting's way easier from outside the cage. Don't do it in there. It's time for Verbal Tap, the show that proves that. I'm your host, Kevin, with me, of course, Raph Esparza, and you can hear the subtle smirks of Matt Therapy behind us. But, Raph, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. I have a lot to talk about, and I'm glad that we have the Matt Therapy ladies. Obviously, Dawna and Becky have returned. We're going to find out a little bit about Over Under Kevin in a little bit, but I got to ask you something real quick to Dawna and Becky. What are your thoughts on the Daniel Cormier meme? Do you have any feeling toward them? Do you feel they are fair? Do you feel they are unfair? If so, why?
When it was happening, I remember thinking this is going to be memes tomorrow, just because it's what people do out there. So a part of me, just kind of saw it coming, obviously. The other part of me is definitely more about, I felt so bad for him. Just, I don't know, a part of me I feel felt what he was feeling. So, to make fun of that is a little harsh. So I'm not a huge fan of it.
Okay. Dawna, are you in the same... I'm sorry. Dawna, are you in the same boat, or where are you at?
I do. I have three. Okay, so I have two thoughts that kind of back that up and one that doesn't, but then it goes back to my first thought. So it's that, it's so mean. It's so mean and just classless. But here's the thing. The UFC is to blame for it. He just got knocked out. It is unfair to both interview him and expect him to give any coherent answers in that moment. And I guess then my opinion a little bit is because they shouldn't have been recording him, he wasn't able to lose like a champion.
That is a great statement. Okay, now, Kev, I'm interested to hear your thoughts, because the thing for me is there was a lot of criticism, and Joe even criticized himself. Joe Rogan criticized himself for doing it. He said he made the rule of not interviewing fighters when they're knocked out, and yet there was some confusion that
more
he
of a
broke
guideline. He's done it 5 times. He's only counting this one, but it's been more of a guideline for the old.
But the reason why he said he doesn't do it when they get knocked out is because they don't know where they are and they can't really form their thoughts. But there was some major confusion, and right after the fight, Daniel Cormier tried to leave the cage, leave the octagon, and it seemed like Joe was trying to circle back to be like, this doesn't seem right. But it was because DC was so out of it. Do you know what happened after that?
I know he was pretty concussed, and I do know that they shoved a microphone in his face. Now, I feel 2 ways about this. One, don't interview him. Not interested. Let's get him some medical attention. And if a doctor's like, you know what, this guy's ready for Q&A, then I'm in. Now I'd like to address the meme. 100% fair game. It's an entertainment industry. Watching DC's the man. Right, we all love him, but we also all kind of know he wasn't going to beat John Jones, if we're all talking out loud in an honest way.
Right.
And the crying meme was
well.
You what?
I think he was doing pretty well up until that point. I was really impressed with him.
I actually was too.
Yeah, me too.
I thought he was fighting a good fight, but that's kind of what I expected to happen. Still, I say that. I like him. Great fighter. Not better than John Jones, and frankly. You make the argument no one is. So it's not like the stiffest bar. I feel like this is another one of those moments where fighters are taking themselves a little too seriously. It's like, we all give you the benefit of the doubt. We know you just got kicked in the head. By the way, none of us are stepping in the cage with John Jones, so we don't get to have a meme made about us. It's sort of a compliment, is the way I feel about it. So I'm straddling the fence nicely as an independent here.
It would be I would be on your side if that was the attitude of everybody that was making fun of him. But there are so many people who are like, oh, Cormier, what a bitch, he was crying. And how many of those people could even,
take that
spar
first
with John
kick?
Jones' first sparring partner? Yeah,
that first kick
if everybody
would
had
have
the
got me.
attitude that you had, you know what I mean? Which is, look, we recognize he's a badass. It was a funny moment. We can all move past it, but too many people are like not taking that. So then it becomes like, you know what I mean? Like, I've said it before. We ask these people to put their bodies and wellness and everything on the line for our entertainment.
We ask them,
in my opinion,
we pay them.
Yeah,
we do pay them.
So yes,
I'm just saying.
But they do break their bodies for us and our entertainment, and it's their choice that they do that. But there's some kind of social contract implied that there should be some respect for that. I guess in my head, I guess other people view it as dance for me, monkey, because we're paying for you. So I guess, but that's not my opinion.
Let me just do this real quick, because I put this out there and I want to see where everybody's at, but I just need 2 minutes of your time for this very, very succinct thing I want to bring up. One thing that really irked me is when you see a loss like this happen, you occasionally see the Winston Churchill, it's not the critic who matters. Now, people seem to love using that quotation whenever it seems appropriate for their point, but I noticed a little bit of a overlap between, hey, let's protect Daniel Cormier. Guys, he gets in there, he gives his all, he does that. And yet the last time I remembered something like this I was like, dude, I remembered people shitting on Ronda when she lost as a champion. And it was the first time she had lost. And people were like, fuck her, fuck that bitch. And it really started to make me look and see the different ways that we were treating these two different people. Now, I know some of you want to say, Ronda, she was a bitch. She was mean to people. She didn't shake somebody's hand. Daniel Cormier was the epitome of a true class champion. I want to go back a little bit in the memory and remind you guys, not only was Daniel Cormier talking trash, but he was the same person who instigated a fight at a press conference. So I don't think he's necessarily the epitome of like grace and dignity when he does promos right after and says, fuck John Jones. So it was a little disturbing, but I want to read some of these comments because I put this out there just for people to think, hey, I agree. Daniel Cormier, great fighter. Let's not get this confused with us saying like, hey, he's doing this crying meme as if like, you know what, fuck that guy. It was just like, it's a funny face, and I understand some people are going to meme it. Although I do agree, they should not be doing it to the extent of saying this guy's a bitch. Like, I get it. He put his heart into it. That's awesome. But at the same point, when we had some of these people, and these are some of the words we got about Ronda, when we do the comparison of just think of how you're treating him and how you treated her. It said, Ronda Rousey fought all nobodies. That chick can't box. Okay? That's number one. And it says, people will be more inclined to call someone a loser when they're walking around like their shit don't stank, being assholes to everyone because they think they're better than everyone, then lose. Like,
do people realize she was in the Fast franchise? I mean, she is better than us. Like, this is 100% on the record. She's better than you.
I love this, and it's like, it's so weird. DC is way more professional than Ronda. He actually respects fighters.
She was in the
Ronda
Olympics.
Disrespects.
Oh, so was he.
No touch glove.
Sorry, I'm just.
Well, I mean, he had weight issues.
They give two different performances. I mean, the promotion part of fighting is performing.
Correct.
So she's the heel. She knew she was the heel. She played the heel well.
Ronda was?
And
yeah. Okay.
And Cormier, enjoys the babyface. I think that actually a lot of the guys from AKA are poor losers.
But like,
I've never seen a truer moment than after the third elbow and like the eighth fist. It's like I would be so distraught with pain. It would be over for me. I would be crying. I would be drawing terrible pictures. It'd not be okay.
Yeah.
I would say this though. So on the meme that we put up,
99% of the population of the world all would. You know what I mean? These are the best in the world.
John Jones, so good.
And we'll talk about this, but let's give credit though. I mean, Daniel Cormier. A lot of people were saying was putting on the performance of his lifetime there. And he really was making adjustments. He was able to grab John Jones's hands and start to make adjustments to negligate some of the reach advantage that John Jones had. And it was smart, and he wasn't trying to exhaust himself with takedowns. But, like, when you see this shit and it's like, don't compare DC to Ronda. Ronda sucks ass, R.I.P. I just want to say to people like this. If you're going to defend him, I certainly hope that you are not the people that says, fuck that bitch. Because I think it's a poor equation to really try and do that. It just sounds like you want to force
Wait,
justify.
Raph, are you suggesting that maybe sometimes women get the shit end of the stick, especially in sports?
I would
That's shocking,
100%.
right?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that
no
what you're
shit.
saying?
No shit.
Oh my God! Did you see the soccer goalie? She broke her leg and played 14 more minutes in Europe. That's only people that can give.
Yeah,
birth
welcome
can
to
do
being a woman, boys.
that. No, thank you.
You know,
Yeah.
I've seen it up
I'll let
close.
you go.
Looks harder.
but you know what
Fair.
though, we have a lot to talk about on UFC 214. We're going to circle back to that in a little bit because I wanted to go from a little bit of talking about that, hopefully getting you guys to, who are listening to maybe consider that as a point. I don't think any of us want to shit on DC as a career. I
struck
think
a serious note. I liked it.
I think he might come back. I'm not sure. People were saying that Tony took toward the end was maybe he was done. I think that dude just needs to rest and figure out what he wants to do. But
Vitor Belfort fought a few weeks ago. He's got plenty in him. If Cormier wants to keep fighting, plenty of people to fight.
It can go either way.
Yeah. Can
I
he
thought
fight GSP?
I
Is that sorry?
go ahead, Becky.
thought Cormier looked great. I don't see why retirement should be a conversation with him right now.
Right.
I thought he looked better than him before. So in more recent fights. So, people were even arguing that had that fight managed to have gone the distance, they saw him winning at least up until that head kick. So
Few good shots in.
and I'd have to go back and really rewatch it to make a call on that. But I thought he looked really good.
Can I throw out a suggestion I think will make everyone happy?
What's that?
DC, take a little breather. You're a brown belt. Why don't you come enter the next EBI Open?
Oh, shit.
Or just put that gi on, come to a little fight to win. There's plenty of stuff in the grappling.
Kev, I have a fucking tournament, you
Fight
asshole.
to Win has no gi. Yeah, Fight to Win has no gi matches. What are you talking about?
Kev, here's what you want to do. You want to go to
SGL?
the USSGL. It's on August 13th. You can sign up for it and maybe face Daniel Cormier. I'm not going to lie. I definitely just cut a video right now where we invited John Jones to come participate in our tournament because he's a new blue belt.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people
what
are saying
the fuck
that he's
is that, by
sandbagging.
the way? Like, what the
And so
fuck is that? Never mind. Sorry.
We as a company have decided we will offer John Jones the opportunity to compete in the gi at the weight of wherever he is right now, but he's going to have to pay for the absolute because I just think that's fair. It's $25. It's fine.
I thought the blue belt was a little bit of a show. I thought it was a little bit of a show. It was like, this guy's been grappling for 15 years. What the fuck are you talking about?
But
Anyway.
Kev, here's the thing. We started on a note that's a little more serious, but I want to get to a more jovial note. And I know that there was nobody happier that I could see than the Mat Therapy ladies because you guys had an EBI competition that you got to absorb. I'm going to start with you, Dawna. What did it feel like for you to actually see it? Like, you worry about it. Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? You want everything to work great. But you were deep in the trenches.
I'm sorry. Can you cut out for a second? Can you repeat that question?
Absolutely. I just wanted to know, what was it like for you to get all the way to EBI after all of that wait and anticipation to seeing an all-female EBI?
Well, my experience was just a little different because I was actually cornering one of the fighters, or one of the competitors.
Who are you cornering?
So I was cornering Lila Smaja.
Awesome.
So on stage, Eddie and her fiance, Campella, who's a black belt and who usually commentates the show, they were with her on stage because you're only allowed to have two corners. And it's Eddie Bravo. But backstage, me and another one of our team members were back there with her, and I was, a big part of her training camp. And she and I are very good friends. So, so there was the emotion of the ladies putting on this amazing show and being a grappling woman and how exciting it was as a member of the sport and the community. And then there was the emotion of watching what is essentially my sister. Lila and I have been training together for 13 years now.
Can I make an assessment?
8 of them have been.
When she was fighting, the best way I can put it, you know how certain fighters have violence in their eyes? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
She has that.
Look,
she's smiling.
She was prepared.
I'm not saying she's running around like a crazy person. It's just when she looked up to fight, it was like, uh-oh, there's violence.
Yeah, she was prepared.
Okay.
She was prepared. Yeah. So to say I was emotional would be an understatement. I went, Jonathan, my husband, and Becky were sitting in the audience, and right when her first match, so, she goes up on the podium to wait, I decided to go back down and sit with them, and I couldn't sit still, and I was crying, and I was like, I was a wreck. And then she got that 23-second submission, and we all did, just lost our minds. So then going backstage with her was like electric.
I have to say, we have an interview with her that's going up pretty soon. You guys will be able to see it. Part of the reason, she didn't win, but she did one of what I like to call, the thing you always expect at EBI is to expect the unexpected. And you always see those people who showcase. And I thought that she and her performance was reflective of somebody who's wanted it so bad, and you could see it. You could see it permeate from her, and that made the matches all the more fun and exciting to see with her. And to hear her say that she had visualized the first two matches going exactly the way they did was truly something special to get to hear. So seeing you go to corner her, I know had to be crazy on top of, hey, I'm excited for everybody. But I do want to credit her real quick because we got a lot of people to talk about. But I want to credit her as being, I was doing an interview with Aaron, who won the whole thing. And right in between, she asked me very nicely. She was like, Raph, can I have a minute? And she just wanted to go over and congratulate Aaron. And there was a camaraderie amongst all of the females that were there. Becky, was that something that you noticed? And follow-up question, I noticed a number of females got dressed up. And it made me think, I was like, oh my God, the rest of us look like slobs. Like, all of the guys look dumb.
Raph and I take that personally when we're out dressed at things.
The only people who were close to looking okay were Ruben and Marvin. Those were the only two people who looked okay. Everybody else was just in jeans and looked scuzzy. Was there kind of like a women's suffragette movement that happened where they decided to get dressed up as part of being like, this is our event, we own it?
I don't know. I noticed a couple people dressed up. I feel like some people, some of the women just, they like to dress up. There's a few that just they we're always in spats and rash guards and sweating and no makeup and all smeared and crazy whenever we see each other. That these events like this are our chance to hang around the people that we're used to being all gross with and actually look nice and decent. So I think a part of it was that, and maybe for some people, I'm sure that they had that that thought of I'm dressing up for the women and for the rise of the sport right now that's happening. Obviously, if you saw me, I was not one of those well-dressed women there. I think I did that maybe the first couple, and after the second EBI, that went 7 or 8 hours.
Right.
And, I'm pretty sure I called it quits after that, and I got comfortable so I can settle in and just enjoy and watch and be comfortable.
well, mind you, that was when it was at a club as well. Now we're at a theater. So
can I just make a comment about what you guys said earlier? Because I want to, because obviously nobody else would see this. About the camaraderie, the competitors. That wasn't just Aaron and Lila.
Mm-hmm.
They were all so amazing to each other, and there was such a wonderful spirit backstage. They were focused, obviously, but it was so friendly. And one of the coaches was laughing because he'd been there with some of our guys, and the ladies all got gift bags with, a DocuStar, a tote bag, and a whole bunch of T-shirts. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, he's so cute! That's much."
I have to say, Kev, it was maybe the friendliest pregame conversation I've ever heard with the rules and normally beforehand it's way crazier and nobody's talking, but there was laughing, everybody's in a great mood, so it really did, I think, set a tone for the event. So I'm going to start with this. Dawna, I know it's hard to pull this away, but what were some highlights for you? Who impressed you on Sunday?
I gotta say, Catherine Shen. Catherine Shen is special competitor. And I didn't get to see all of the matches. I'm sorry to say. I wish I did. I'm going to have to go back and watch it on Fight Pass. But I was right off stage for Catherine's first match, and just because 10th Planet, we know who she is. We've seen her do some amazing things. But it was everybody else. It was like, what is going on? And we were like, yeah, man, she's special. And we were back there with a bunch of the freaks, and that was really cool. All of the ladies.
For those not in the know, can I ask a 10th Planet question? Does Catherine train at 10th Planet? It doesn't say HQ next to your titles. It always just says 10th Planet. When you say the freaks, you're referring to the
it's a team. So that's a team. That's the San Diego team, and they call themselves the Freaks. A couple of the schools who are all kind of branded together, I guess is the best thing to say, branded under
10th
under our brand. So there's a team. They're the 10th Planet Freaks, and those are Gio Martinez and Boogie Martinez. Both of them have been in EBI before. Gio's the current champion at 135.
Oh,
we've spoke to their schools,
him.
And they call
fans.
They call themselves the 10th Planet Freaks. There's also the Monster Squad, and I believe those are the only two team names so far, but I'm sure more will be coming soon because it's 10th Planet. Oh, the Hooligans in London. Okay, so we have more teams.
Nice. Okay, I definitely didn't know about those last two. And where's Catherine Shen from?
She's a freak. She's
cool.
Freak.
Oh, cool.
Can you not tell? She's a 10th Planet Freak.
Yeah, with her ability to inspire both shock and awe when she is stretching.
Yeah.
Like, she's one of the people who I notice who would give up her leg and be like, I'm still going to Darce you.
I got no problems.
Yeah. And it's impressive. I have to say, it was tough for me to watch her match because they put her and Patty, and the whole crowd was going back and forth because Patty brought a lot of support with her, and she's amazing. But, EBI are going to EBI. So those two people were going up against each other. You had Catherine and you had Patty, and I thought that they had a showcase match. I thought they had arguably the match of the competition. And the thing about it was, Catherine started off in bad positions, found her composure, and matured just before our eyes. Like, she's a great competitor, but I think the growth and the step that she took that day in front of that many people, both in the audience and watching at home, I am very excited to see what happens next for her, which, by the way, is going to be at the USSGL. You guys can come catch her. She is going to be competing at the Deepwaters Invitational as well. Thank you, guys. I know.
Nice try. Nice
crushed it.
I will say this. I thought all these ladies were amazing. I've never been around so many female black belts ever. And I was just like fangirling out a little bit. Like, hi, I like the jiu-jitsu. And now I'm friends with several of them on Facebook, and I'm very proud of myself.
Nice.
You should be. And you know what?
You're both
I will say
very
this.
approachable, so I can't imagine. Donna's very approachable. I'm just going to start the smack talk early. Otherwise,
God.
I think
Calm
the two
down,
of you are the
Kevin.
product.
Really nice. I will say this too. There was one thing that really
I got to start a podcast feud with Becky before it's too late, right? I don't know when we're going to talk to her.
Wait, I want to know who Becky was impressed with because she saw all the matches and I didn't. So I want to know who she was really impressed with.
A couple people. I know I train with Lila. I know that there's a huge bias for me to be impressed with her, I feel like. But I think it's safe to say that, especially in those first two matches, which she went out there and it was amazing what she did.
Violence.
Yes.
She's fast.
Yes.
She does a lot. She has a lot of burst.
God. And I'm sad. I'm sad because I missed most, all her training leading up to this, the last 3 months because of my injury. I haven't been in class and I haven't been there to be a part of it. Otherwise, I know I would have been a lot more involved. And I wish I could have but I guess having had to step back for a few months and see this transformation that she made, it's just, I was so fucking proud of her that she could, even without winning, I'm so incredibly proud of her. She didn't have to win for me to be like, I love everything that she did this weekend.
Well, we should talk about who she lost to because that was an awesome match.
We do want to get to that. there is one thing to kind of close out.
Erin's a beast. I trained with her when she was 12 years old. She tapped me out.
Wait, how long has she been? How old is she now?
Well, give us a second, Kev. I want to.
For fuck's sake, there's so many people that are younger than me that are gonna murder me. Everyone in jiu-jitsu under 25 terrifies me now. It's just a fear.
They should.
You guys are one of the worst offenders. 10th planet. I don't even want to hear it with your kids' system.
Yep.
We have some people at the Hibero. It's just like,
one last thing on
grade? Go fuck yourself. Sorry.
It's all right. You got carried away. I understand. It happens occasionally. Kevin just gets a little jealous, and then he goes into a rage. It's what happens.
Scream at a child while training. I will fight children. I've made it public. I'm going to beat them up while I can.
The one thing that I think I really wanted to make very, very clear about Lila was that when she was in there, I wanted to tell her, and I did in the interview, but I feel like she carried the seriousness of she's always wanted this event. She performed like it, and I hope, and I told her this in the interview, I said, if it comes down to it and we need to recommend somebody to come back and do this tournament, she should be at the top of that list because she felt it in her bones and she gave a great performance. And I think it was one of those things where you wait for 11 times and then it finally gets to the women's turn and then you want to deliver, and she delivered. So I think that no matter what, she represented y'all really great. But let's talk about Erin, because Erin did win, and Erin surprised a lot of people, except for the people at Silver Fox BJJ who were trying to tell us we told y'all.
Not if you've ever met Erin before.
Exactly. But the nice part about her is she's 18. She's got a lot of stuff going her way. We put up a clip today where she admitted she doesn't have any sponsors. She wants to do MMA. She wants to do Muay Thai. She's got a lot already to be promising and happy about. But, Dawna, you said you trained with her before, and yeah, she was great even then. Like, where do you see her potential going, and how do we keep her in jiu-jitsu and not in MMA?
Oh, no, it's impossible. She's already, undefeated in Muay Thai.
Yeah.
She's the UFC champ, and I'm gonna be clapping for her every step of the way.
She
came in at 12 years old.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And she came in at 12 years old, and nobody gave me any context with her, so I'm thinking, oh, this is a young girl, and maybe she wasn't 12, maybe she was 13, because it was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, okay. And then, so nobody gave me any context to who she was, and she was kind of like she is now, very low-key and kind of, chill. And so I'm, trying to coach her through class, and she was just looking at me like, okay, thank you. And then we started rolling, and she tapped me out, and I was like, oh, where did that come from?
She looks, again, she has that. She attacks from a lot of places. She's comfortable in very bad positions. Yeah, she does. She likes Nakamura to transition, and she doesn't really have a problem spinning on her neck, head, anything. She spun for some arm bars.
I didn't remember her the last time she came to visit us until I started rolling with her, and she put me in a Kimura, and I was like, hey! I remember you.
Erin! Oh, God. Wow. We've done this before. Yeah, that's a funny...
Becky, can you do me a favor? Can you describe her last 2 matches for us? Because she had a match against Catherine Shen where she ended up Kimura-ing her, and Catherine was putting up a great fight. But Catherine mentioned she was a good wrestler and that she had the perfect game for her in particular. It looked like those last 2 matches were tough.
They absolutely were tough. I mean, you have to imagine by this point she had also, a couple of her fights went into overtime. I think her first fight did. So, she's already spent a little bit. I'm sure the adrenaline was still kicking, but and then she came into the quarterfinals against Catherine, who was, in the semifinals when she went up against Lila, who at that point, she was still pretty fresh. So that's not. It's not an easy battle. Women are relentless, and especially, what you just said, we've waited 10 EBIs to get the opportunity. All of them, including her, were into the death.
I have a question about this. Becky, you seem like you have that aggression. I mean, you do jiu-jitsu for the 10th Planet System. You've obviously got that aggression. How much do you think there was of that? This is EBI 12. There's pressure. Because those last matches, it seemed like there was never a conditioning fallout at all. Like, not even 1 second, it seemed. Because even, and I love her as a fighter, Talita, who always looks tired, but never is. She just keeps fighting. She just looks tired. That's just how she breathes. She's just ready to go.
Sure. Maybe it's a way of faking out her opponent too. Let him think I'm tired, but I'm not.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, shut up! That's a great idea.
Kevin, can I just say though?
I'm faking it to everyone I roll with. That's me psyching you out.
With Talitha, though, she came up to me in the interview, and like when I said, "Hey, are we going to interview?" She had energy, and she was like, "Yeah, okay, let's do it." And as she came over to do the interview, she tried to jumping guillotine me, and I was like, "Whoa, what the fuck?"
She's like, "Sorry, instinct took over.
Keep going, let's do it, let's do it." I
was just ready.
I was like, Talita, I'm not rolling with you right now. You're too much.
If I'm surmising correctly. You're both sort of articulating, I know, Becky, the question was pointed at you, that there is a sort of extra tenacity that factors in. Maybe that's what amped up these matches, because a lot of submission attempts, a lot of transitions.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And by the way, as far as the camaraderie, did anybody notice like any tension on stage between in that
Gabby.
Was it in the semifinals?
Yeah, Gabby Talita.
Gabby and Talita.
Oh yeah.
So that's the only like question. I don't know how they were backstage. I didn't have it. I wasn't back there. I didn't get to see any sort of interaction between the two of them. But on stage, I would say that they had something to prove out there between some. There was something.
I love it.
Two. I don't know.
Talita did that same thing Gordon Ryan does, which is the super exacerbated butt scoot, which is an upgrade from the neutral face Keenan always used. I feel like Gordon was like, how do I make it seem more disappointing? And then Talita really added on to that with just like, fine. And it seemed like Gabby was like, fuck off, chase me. I'm not getting anywhere near your open guard.
Well, I actually had a problem. I had a problem with what Gabby was doing.
I do too, but that's also what Wagner Roca did to win, to do.
But hold on, what in particular did you have a problem with, Dawna?
She wasn't engaging, and maybe it's because she's too much of a points fighter, and so when you're, in competition, you go back to your thing and the thing that comes naturally to you. So maybe she was just like, this is how I compete, but she was so concerned with just passing Talita's guard instead of just engaging with her. This is sub only. Who gives a shit if you're on the bottom? Take the bottom and do some shit.
I will say Talita actually
Eddie would
shares
be proud
your
of that
thoughts.
Comment, though, I think, just in general.
Talita actually...
Who do you think I train under? Yeah, of course. Where do you think I got that attitude from?
Eddie's like smiling somewhere, like someone just said something that I agree with. Sorry.
Talita actually, in our interview, said about as much. So she would 100%.
Really?
Oh,
awesome.
Yeah. She definitely has some statements that she made in there. But she also was complimentary of Gabby. It was just, I think it was a very real assessment as to how she saw that match go down. Now, ladies, I don't want to condense all of EBI, but we do have a UFC to talk about as well. Do you have any final thoughts?
I agree with you.
Do you have any final thoughts? I'm going to first go to Becky on this. Becky, I've heard rumor of 135 and 145 for the females going forward. Okay. Now, I don't know how accurate that is, but what do you see as the future for the female? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Before we even go any further, combat jiu-jitsu, we should talk about that too. So
way better. Huge upgrade.
Oh, yeah.
Huge upgrade.
I didn't get to see any of the matches, not one of them.
Not nearly as physically painful to me as the men's matches were, because the men's matches started as just straight up swinging. I think they might have made a rule change that you can only do it once you're on the ground. Was that always the rule?
It's always been the rule that one opponent has to be down. I think that the women just approached it differently than the men.
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, it wasn't nearly as slap happy, but rather was jiu-jitsu with just an appropriate amount of slapping. I thought, like, it didn't.
Well, keep in mind though, Kev, this is when they got to the end of that very first row, we had seen some slap jiu-jitsu, and then I think somewhere in that actually we also see the butt slapping to try and get out of
Absolutely.
the heel hook?
Yeah, which I completely agree with, and we'll be trying.
Eddie Bravo may or may not have offered $500 for the best bongo player.
This is why we bring you on here, Dawna.
That
Thank
type
you very
of
much for that
inside stuff
information.
we don't know because we don't train with them when the good shit
We do
slips
not.
out.
We don't get the goods.
Which and I love Eddie to death, but I'm sure he didn't make that same deal with the guys.
I know he didn't. I've been in the room meetings for both of them. He didn't.
So that happens on the first side. But then, as we got to the very end of the whole,
Wait,
like,
he said that during the
jiu-jitsu
rules
side,
meeting?
yes. When we got to the end of the
Okay,
combat,
now I want to change my stance. Inappropriate.
Yes.
Now I'm going publicly against it. I thought that was like an inside joke that we were getting let in on. He said that at the fucking. Never mind.
Anyway, when we got to the end of the competition,
he didn't just offer it up. I think it may have been Alima. She was like, "What if I smack her on her ass?"
Okay, less offensive to me. Now that it was organically part of a conversation, I change my mind with context all the time.
He didn't just make an announcement like the fighters were
that's
being
how
funny.
it sounded.
And
You were like,
Alima
and
was
by
like,
the way,
"Can we get extra points for smacking her on her ass?"
no, Eddie doesn't walk backstage like a pimp, being like, "All right, ladies, this is what's happening."
Can I just say,
he's not the president of the United States.
Right?
Oh God,
he's got a little more.
He's got a lot. He's got a little thing we call class. Okay, can you see how that was presented maybe to me in a way that seemed unsavory?
Hey,
and I want to bring this up.
Speaking of women's wait, before we go to UFC,
Mm-hmm.
speaking of women's jiu-jitsu, I have it sitting in front of me right here in my living room, the future of women's jiu-jitsu, the Triangle Queen herself, Miss Cora Sex.
Cora, how are you doing?
Say hi, Cora. You're on Verbal Tap Podcast.
Hi.
Hi, Cora. Yes, we can. Cora, we're big fans of you. How are you doing tonight?
Thank you. Good. You?
Scooch over.
Not bad. Do you get bored? And this is a real question. Cora, do you get bored being good at jiu-jitsu because you're young and you're already super good at it, and I'm a little jealous?
No, I don't get bored. Really.
Oh. Then we're
No,
really
she doesn't
in
get bored.
trouble.
She just likes being good at it.
Okay, well, we're all a little jealous of you, but
Thanks, Cora. We're definitely
see
going to
you-
sleep less safe than we did the night before as jiu-jitsu
100%.
practitioners.
And we're huge fans of yours, and we expect big things coming from you, but we know your jiu-jitsu is awesome, so we'll go ahead and let, Dawna not kidnap you anymore, because that sounds like what's clearly...
Whoa. We're getting ready to go training. Nobody's being kidnapped.
Dawna, I want to say you'd be one of the best kidnappers ever with your habits. I
That's
mean,
true.
from voice acting to jiu-jitsu, I think you should really consider it as a profession. I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea. You have a lot of positive influence. I mean, sure, we could go the legit route of like a Big Brothers Big Sisters program, but come on, we both know.
All right.
It's just bureaucracy.
So let's do this, because one of the things that we do need to talk about, though, I do want to ask this. When we got to the very end, did you guys notice that the lack of combat jiu-jitsu took place in the very last match? There really wasn't much of it.
Yeah, loved it. It was
No, I
perfect.
didn't see it. I don't know.
Okay. So just at the very end, they seem to kind of not even really need it. And I thought that was awesome. So.
I agree. I've been waiting for people to be like, fuck this. We're not slapping each other. Let's just fight. Sounds good. Loved it.
So anyway, go ahead.
I feel like even Ilima's first fight was kind of like that, where the hitting was coming from her opponent, not necessarily from her.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that could have been a way also of proving a point. Like, I don't need, the idea of being able to like home strike somebody is ideally to like open up a position or a submission, be able to advance your, whatever it is that you're going for in that moment. And, maybe that was just her way of like, I don't need that shit to get where I want to get.
I love where you're at, but her answer to me was as follows. I was going for leg locks, and I don't even know why I was doing that, but I did. And I just thought, okay. And then I realized when I was trying to tap her, she wouldn't tap. So then it just became like, ugh, let's just see what works. So
That sounds like me, Lima.
it definitely had a lot of honesty. The interviews up at Verbal Tabcast on the YouTube. But
She's
I wanted to
also,
get back.
By the way, a tough SOB with her. She did have a real like, oh, I'll defend against your smacks. I'm working on a heel hook. Fuck you.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I was like, you work that heel hook. Fuck their smacks. And there was, that was her first opponents. That was the defense, was just, I'm smacking you. There's always one in the crowd. He won the male thing. There's always a smacker. But she was unfazed by it. It was really shocking. It's just impressive.
So let's do this. Like I said, I was asking before, Becky, so I gave you some time to think about it. But the future of female competition in EBI, where and when do we see it? I don't know exactly that you may know, but where would you like to see it go?
I'd like to see it be just as popular as all the other EBIs. I mean,
seconded.
Doing a male and female bracket in one night, obviously, again, going back to EBI 2 when there were 2 brackets, maybe not the best idea.
No.
Well, what if we just make it 8-8 and really rock the shit out of this tournament? Like, let's think
You mean
big.
like the Deep Waters Invitational going down?
I'm just saying, like
August
the 115 females versus the 115 males, and then in the end, the champions fight. Like, who's not watching that?
Yep.
I'm just
Anyway.
I'm throwing out ideas.
Yeah, I know. But here's the thing.
You're so good with that segue. You're just so good at it.
He's just always ready to go with it.
It's actually not even rap.
He's a Boy Scout.
He's just playing a musical loop that we've loaded into the show. That's really important. He just hits a button.
USSGL on August 13th and 14th.
Yeah.
USSGL on
Rap's
August
smart guy. Rap's not going to say it every time.
Somebody shows up the 14th, I'm going to be like, Matt Therapy sent you there on the wrong day, not Rap as far as that. Now, Dawna,
Oh, is it the 12th and 13th? My bad.
yes. Dawna, now where is your feeling on this? Like, if there is another EBI, do we see the ladies from Matt Therapy going to compete? And have you come to terms if you guys had to compete against each other?
Well, I mean, if there's another 125 EBI, I think that we will both definitely put ourselves in the qualifiers. And I say this with absolute assurity and love that if Becky and I have to go up against each other in any competition because we love and respect each other so much, that we will try and murder one another.
Yep. Everything she just said.
Oh, you heard it here. Problems affront at Matt Therapy. They are not getting along. I want to ask this because
I wouldn't expect any. We wouldn't expect any less of each other.
Of course,
I would be hurt if we,
I just want to know this because people were insinuating that there's a lot of talent that we haven't seen yet from the 10th Planet system. Do you have any names potentially? If people are starting to look for that next EBI, who are those next generation of people who should be involved?
I got 2 names at 35 for you. Or maybe 35 and 45 because I don't know what one of them fights at. Awesome. Jen Escobar and Lynn Vong.
Absolutely. Yeah. 2 awesome practitioners. I cannot wait to see them. They're also competing at the USSGL Deep Waters Invitational.
Good job, Dawna. Good job. See what you did there? You brought it right back over.
You're welcome, Ralph. I'm just setting them up. You knock them out.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. No, that was 100% throw and catch for a touchdown. And then I can reveal this now. Lin Vung is actually going to have maybe a special match, maybe taking place on an aircraft carrier. I'm not going to say any more. Okay, that's it. I'm done. You have to be there.
Really?
Yep. USSGL.com, August 12th, 13th, San Diego, the Broadway Pier. Be there. Kevin, let's talk UFC 214.
Fine. I'm still upset. I was hoping Damian Maia would find a way to get in there.
Okay.
And,
oh my God!
Insert that booty.
If his opponent's only game plan is just going to run,
we disagree on this. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I enjoyed Tyron Woodley's game plan, and I thought he won a fight fair and square. And I thought he beat up Damian Maia a little bit.
Kev, I'm
sorry.
going to go ahead and mute you in a second. All right, go ahead.
I understand totally.
To Becky. Becky, what were your thoughts on that fight?
You know how this has happened a couple of times, over the years that I can think of, where you look forward to a fight so much, and then what ends up happening is a little bit lackluster, and it's more disappointment of like, what your expectation was of what you were going to see out there. And I feel like that's kind of what happened in that match, unfortunately. And I mean, each fighter, they did their part to avoid their opponent's strong points. You know, obviously, Dawna didn't want to, you know, it was very clear he didn't want to keep it standing. All he wanted to do was get that takedown, and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
It just didn't work that night. And, you know, and then Tyron Woodley did everything he could to just avoid the ground. He I don't know. He definitely didn't, I don't know. He didn't seem like he was trying too hard also to engage even standing, but that's just my thought.
Okay, Dawna, I know you have opinions on this because
of course I do.
I can feel how angry you are about Tyron Woodley.
Like, I've started to do dishes or get in my car. That's how angry I am.
And I want you to go.
Well, I have to take Cora to jiu-jitsu. Eddie was like, Dawna, bring her to class tonight. I'm like, yes, Eddie. Okay, so here's my opinion. I actually have some criticism for Damian, even though I'm a big fan of his. I think to think that Woodley wasn't prepared for. Of course, that was like the number one thing that he was going to prepare for in a fight with Damian Maia. So I think I wasn't a fan of either of their game plans. I wasn't a fan that Damian didn't come in with a better strategy to break Woodley down a little bit to open up that jiu-jitsu. Like, why didn't you just chop his legs down a little bit and then maybe give yourself an opportunity for a takedown as opposed to just diving right in? Because I think that almost any fan could have told you that wasn't going to happen. And then Woodley not fighting to win, but fighting not to lose, is counter. I get it. I understand the smartness of fighting like that.
Love the tone.
But
I get it.
But
that was awesome.
Like, it doesn't make you nobody wants to watch you fight. You have no bargaining power. The promotion doesn't like you, and yeah, you get to say you're champion, but you don't get anything else. I would rather watch 100 Cerrone fights and never see a championship belt than watch a fighter who is not willing to put anything on the line for the sport.
Okay, now here's where it gets interesting because Tyron Woodley
I love that
was
last
addressing.
line, though, Raph. Can we just stop and appreciate the rhetoric of that last?
But let's go to this.
Those last
this is
few
important
lines
to note, Ken.
were really good radio. People just need to go to iTunes, put in a little review, say, great rant. Thank you.
So here's what I'm saying, Dawna. Tyron Woodley was addressing you specifically. I don't know if it was saying, like, Dawna, I heard you.
He did say Dawna, common. He did say Dawna.
He said,
but he did say
he said something like
saying,
Dawna. He said Dana, I think, if we're pronouncing it correctly. It's like,
so
it's near it.
What he said was, he was basically saying this evening, or not this evening, but on that evening, he was saying a lot of fans like you have too many expectations and that it is his job to maintain the belt, not put out exciting fights. If he has to put out exciting fights, he holds the potential of losing the belt, which means so much to him.
Yeah, well, okay, so there's my fucking point. Yay.
Yeah,
you get to call yourself champion. Good for you. Now I will never buy a UFC that you're headlining again. And I'll never be a fan that puts any money into you. So now you don't, like, what's the point of calling yourself a champ? But you know who I'm going to go watch? Robbie Lawler and Cowboy Cerrone and who's the other one? Joe Lawler. No, Lawler, not Lawler.
Lawler works.
Who's the one I'm thinking of with the big ears?
Joe Lazon.
There it is.
Lozon.
There we go.
Nice, Raph. Great ball.
So, okay, now, Becky, on this side, the other thing that was important to note was Tyron Woodley didn't get his way. He was basically, like, they took GSP away from him. They said, we were going to give you GSP, and Dana White went backstage and said, hey, you're so fucking boring. I talked to fucking GSP and Bisping tonight, and I hate those fuckers, and we're doing that. So fuck you, Tyron Woodley. So as a result of that, Tyron Woodley then went to go cry on Ariel Helwani's show, and he was basically telling anybody who listens, and it's not to say he doesn't make certain points.
Chose his audience wisely, by the way. I thought he chose his interview very well.
But when he got to this one point, though, Kev, this is the most important thing to note. He was willing to blackmail Dana White and say if he doesn't get what he wants or a public apology, he's going to go public.
Didn't enjoy that.
Becky, my question
in general, I don't know if anybody knows this, but threatening to blackmail your boss is always the best way to go.
Absolutely. So, Becky.
I agree. I think you should absolutely do that.
Hashtag life pro tip.
Donna's life pro tips. Don't blackmail your boss.
Did you hear this? And what was your response to when you heard him saying he had information on Dana White? And question and follow-up, what is that information? Just take a guess.
Are we all going to be like, oh, shock, Dana White's probably a dickhead who mistreats women? What's he going to come up with? Like, what?
Yeah, I don't know that there's much that he can say about him that might surprise people. I mean, I don't really pay too much attention to him, to be honest. I've heard people say things. I don't, he's kind of like Trump. He's there. I just don't really pay attention.
Can I just say, as an MMA fan, you're both crushing this right now. You're both speaking to my inner human on a fantastic level. They couldn't be 100% more right. One of them, oh, what? He beats women? Shocker. And the other, I don't really hear him. I don't know him. And that was perfect for me, Ref. That was...
What do you think of him? I don't.
Oh, that was awesome.
So now as we do this, obviously Damian Maia, I got really sad for him. It was a bad day for all of us who were jiu-jitsu fans wanted to see him.
Yeah.
Can I speak on a Tyron Woodley behalf? Not really. I'm not going to go deep in his corner. I'm just going to go a little bit in his corner.
Best of luck. Sure. I mean, you can try.
Carlos Condit wasn't trying to get taken down by Damian Maia either. And Carlos Condit's really good at punching and kicking people in the face. And Damian Maia took him down.
But when you're only... I don't have a problem with the takedown stuffing. That's okay. Yeah, that's your job. Let's do that. But do something else, too. If your whole game plan for your fucking championship fight is stuff the takedown and then throw a 1-2 and maybe an uppercut, your fight plan sucks.
I agree.
Let me say this.
This has been the fight plan of the last 5 people that faced Damian Maia. This isn't a new fight plan. This is the fight plan people have been trying to employ. It's avoid the takedowns because much like you duck when someone swung a jab, you don't get in Damian Maia's guard. You just don't. You don't get on the ground with him.
Let's say this.
With him. But
you're kind of saying
maybe
that.
you utilize some of that. No, what I'm saying is you call yourself the best fighter in the world. A best fighter in the world should also have striking in his arsenal. So maybe you turn the dial up a little bit, put on a show for the fans, maintain your belt, and make people want to cheer for you instead of getting booed by the entire audience who started doing the wave while you were fighting. I was one of them.
Can I put it this way? I want to make sure that people know. I want to make sure people know this really important fact, which is this. When you start talking about how you need to win the fight and how you're going to go about doing it, do you? Figure out how you're going to win the fight. I understand that. But do not try to quantify that to me in a press conference afterwards as if I'm supposed to feel something for you. Because he kept saying, like, these fighters, fans, they don't know anything. And it's like, no, a bunch of us have been around for a while. And the best thing that you're arguing right now... Yeah. No, but listen, this is important because the idea is he is trying to argue that we don't know what we're seeing. We know exactly what we're seeing. And you know what? Congrats to him for keeping his belt. But here's the problem with it. The biggest issue that he has as he's doing this is he's not saying I went out there and I outstruck him. His main claim to fame was I was out there with the grappler who's known for being really good and he couldn't take me down. And when you start talking about it as a defensive mechanism as opposed to what you were imposing, you are already starting to signify to your audience, wait, maybe this guy wasn't pushing the action or doing shit. What really did he do?
I didn't lose.
And then when it's statistically said, when he statistically is saying, he's like, well, statistically saying, I guess what you're looking at is those stats don't mean anything. It's like, well, then what were you doing, dude? Because at the very least, Damian Maia was pushing the action even if he didn't win. And that was the struggle that I think so many of us had in watching it, which was, Tyron Woodley has power. He's got that great ability, but he's becoming the fighter he thinks he's describing George St. Pierre is right now. He's doing that in his prime. So all the things he's playing that, he is being that right now. So that's why I'm saying to you, I don't really care how you win it, but if you're going to try and spin it at me as if I did something wrong in watching you, you can fuck right off. And that's why people aren't going to buy your fucking shit. So, rant over.
I was there. I was at the Honda Center. People, go ahead, Beth. Sorry.
He's the champion takedown stuffer, basically. That's really about all that happened on Saturday.
That'd be a great additional engraving to the belt.
By the way, guys, I don't know if you could put in a great word to Eddie, but if we could get that as the overtime rules, for the overtime rules, that would be great.
Takedown stuffer.
What is the overtime? What are you talking about? Oh, but okay, so at the Honda Center, you guys, Honda Center, in the third round, I don't know if you guys could hear this on TV. Everybody started yelling, "This is bullshit! This is bullshit!"
That was pretty spectacular to hear, and I have to say, it was kind of a little bit of a jolt to hear that, because keep in mind the fight right before that was Robbie Lawler and Donald Cerrone.
Well, Cyborg Evander was right before that.
Well,
the most exciting fights, yeah.
I want to go ahead.
Tanya Evander is a first-class badass.
Here's the reason why, though, Kev. The reason why I bring that
up. He
up.
had a horrible game plan, though. The game plan was just don't die.
So she did it really well. She did it better than anyone's ever done it against Cyborg.
You're right.
Here's the reason why I bring up the Cerrone and Lawler, though, in particular. Those were two guys who, to Dawna's credit, were really trying to go out there and put out a fight. So much to the point where it was a controversial decision for a number of people. Now, my question to you guys, we're going to circle back to Cyborg because I've got some notes on that. But I want to ask you guys, who won that fight? Becky, who won that fight?
I'm sorry, which fight? The Cyborg fight?
The Cerrone. Yeah, who won the Cyborg fight? I just blanked out. Who won the Donald Cerrone and Robbie Lawler fight?
You know, that one, I like Robbie Lawler. I can't help it.
Okay, you thought he won that one? Okay. I'm going to ask Dawna, same question.
I'm a fan of both of them. I wanted Cowboy to win. But seriously, as soon as that fight was over, I turned to my husband and my brother, who I was sitting with, and I go, I have no idea who won that fight, and I enjoyed every single minute of it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's a good fight. That's a good place to be. Kevin, who won that fight?
Donald fucking Cerrone. I didn't see it so much, but I tend to go towards the pride rules. That's where I fall, and I don't think Robbie Lawler disagrees with me. I saw it in his eyes. He's like, yeah, we could do that again. That wasn't clear.
Oh, yeah, and I would watch them fight 1,000 times.
Me too.
Oh,
also.
for sure. 100%. 100% I'd watch them fight.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we know that was an exciting fight, and it lived up to expectations, because Becky was saying, sometimes you look at those fights,
no one got
and they don't live up.
Raph.
Like, well, keep in mind, though, the reason why they didn't get knocked out is very simply because you had two fighters who knew how to, like, they were familiar with each other's work enough to the point where they could be respectful but not dumb. And Greg Jackson isn't going to give a dumb game plan. He knows Robbie Lawler's got a lot of power, but Robbie's also taken a lot of damage over the years. And the same could be said for Donald Cerrone, who's got really solid kicks and a smart game plan, and he was finding the inside plenty of times. But at the same point, you know, Donald Cerrone's liver and his chin have always been questioned by people. But he had it was a great fight. Let's circle back now to Cyborg and Evander. I want to say this real quick.
By the way, I think this happened before. I think Donna's gone to training. I'm just going to say it out loud.
No, I am. I'm pulling up to think about it. This is 1,000% correct.
Okay. So what happens here
Can we all just agree that we were all impressed a little bit with how long Tanya Evander lasted?
Yes.
Every single person watching was like, damn, did not expect this to last so long.
Well, I feel
like after the first 60 seconds, everybody was like, oh, is this still going? All right.
Yeah, that's how I felt. It was awesome. I felt like she deserved an award. It was almost like she had won, even as Joe was like, oh, okay, well, there it is. But wow, what a race. Yeah. And it was almost as though she had really just garnered the people's respect. We were all like, fuck you, everyone else that wouldn't fight her. Tanya Evander stepped up and made her look human.
Out this one thing, which is Tanya, the very first moment she got punched, though, she was doing, head movement, but the moment that she got the rhythm, she was like, okay, cool. She gets popped in the face for the very first time early on in the fight and goes, with her face, at least to me, why did I do this? Like, why did I sign up for this?
Her face says something else to me, but not much different.
But like to me, it was looking at her and like looking at Cyborg and being like, "This was a choice. I've made a miserable choice. Why did I sign up for this?" But the nice part was, in the post presser, she actually went up and she said, "Hey, I want everybody to know I'm sorry for my performance. I fought like a pussy." And it's like, no, you didn't. You went out there and you fought. It just
Crushed.
fighting Cyborg is hard.
Which is amazing.
I think she hits harder than any other woman has ever expected or experienced. That's the look I see on almost every single time I watch a Cyborg fight. The look is, oh shit, she hits really hard. I was not expecting that.
My note for you, though, Becky, is when that does happen, you see Cyborg doing that. Did you see a much more controlled Cyborg? Did she seem a little bit more relaxed and less like erratic in the way that she was striking?
Yeah. I don't know. She seems comfortable in there. I mean, goddamn, they created a whole weight class just for her in the UFC. So,
that was awesome.
I don't know. I mean, she was definitely a little bit more controlled. She still missed, there was a lot of shots she missed. There was a lot that, I don't know if it was, Tanya's head movement was just that well. Although, how about Tanya's little, like, bull move where she would just, like, go head first into...
Yeah, it's awesome. We all got to do that. Let's call it the Avenger. We'll start this here, and everybody will do it within 6 months.
Okay, I have a theory on why that fight.
Right? People are just going to get knees to the face if they keep doing that. I mean, damn.
Fair.
That was weird. That was a little weird, but...
Dawna, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
I have an opinion on that. I think the reason that I think the Cyborg could have finished her a couple times. There was one time that she was down on the ground and she could have, like, finished her with the knees or gone in. But I think Cyborg was doing a couple things. I think she was milking it for everything it was worth, and she wanted your first UFC match to actually last as long as it could. And she's like, if I keep this thing going, maybe somebody else will want to fight me because it'll look like a fight instead of me just beating the bitches down.
Hold on. Can we be clear about how to prove this? Does anyone know Cyborg? Can we get her to write down what her plan was? Because this is what we're missing in a good
Rose
memoir.
Gracie? Should we call Rose Gracie and be like, hey, call Chris and find out?
Oh, maybe we should. Not right now, because I don't want to out her if she's that smart. I want her to keep it. I want her to harness it and see what she can do with it. But I definitely want to know. Eventually,
isn't that a smart move? Because if you just walk in and get knocked out, and like if she Mike Tyson's, circa late 80s, everybody, then nobody's gonna want to fight her. But she's like, no, look, I'm competitive. You can fight me and be competitive with me.
If that's the case, third round. She is the smartest fighter we've had in a really long time.
False. She has Tito Ortiz as her manager. Cannot be true.
Cannot be true. This cannot be true. There's no way Tito has a strategy.
Let's look back though at the bantamweight division, and when Ronda came in, she was. I mean, aside from a couple of the fights, look how quick those things were going. Those fights were going, and
yeah, but I think people knew that you could go in and out strike Ronda.
How much do you think though that Dana White maybe was in her ear saying, "Hey, don't finish these bitches off too quick," because maybe him putting that in her ear of, "Hey, we want to get you more fights. We want you to fight more. Don't scare them off by knocking them out in 30 seconds.
Maybe
don't get crazy." And he maybe wants a little bit longer of a show.
Just when I try to feud with Becky, she pulls me back in with a perfect Dana interpretation.
Maybe somebody else came up with it for sure.
I do want to point this out, Dawna, though. You can tell the 10th planet is strong in you because you're throwing out conspiracy theories like nobody's business. Maybe, I'm just saying, check the research. Hey, check the research.
I'm saying, look it up.
Look it up.
Look it up. That's what I'm saying.
I've been here for a decade. So let's not be. Actually, when I commentated at the U of MMA, somebody came up to me after the first couple shows and they were like, "You're trying too hard to be Joe Rogan," and I was like, "Oh, actually." What I'm doing is I probably sound like Eddie Bravo, who sounds a lot like Joe Rogan, because they sound exactly alike when they're talking about MMA. And that's not the problem.
Now, ladies, here's the thing. Kev, let's do a greatest hits of what happened elsewhere on the card.
Oh, yeah.
There was a knockout that started off the pay-per-view.
Vulcan. Everybody was like, who the fuck is that guy? And we're like, oh, he's the guy who keeps knocking people out. That's right. Oh, I remember now. Vulcan asked for John Jones, which I thought was hilarious. It's like, you should have shot maybe a scotch lower.
Oh, Pumpkin, no.
Yeah, Pumpkin would have been
with somebody else.
Oh, can I just say, if Joe had said, "Oh, pumpkin," I would have been 100% more intrigued by the broadcast.
That's definitely how you know Donna's talked to
Somebody
fights
needs
after.
to hire me.
I couldn't agree
interview.
more. That would have been if Dawna interviews him and it starts that way. I'm in. She's like, I don't know if that was the best move, like an interviewee/advisor. By the way, Dawna would have said "fuck off" to interviewing Cormier, Joe Rogan. I'm just gonna say it to your face. I hate his. I promise never to do it until they tell me to do it. It's like, we know it's not you, man.
However, if I'd ever got to interview Cormier, I'd really ask about fucking Towelgate, because I think that motherfucker cheated.
Couldn't agree more.
That was the time to ask him when he was out.
Oh
He was
my
just
God,
like,
that was the only way
really
we would have
there?
gotten it. That was the only way. Damn
It's like
it.
he's hypnotized and he has to tell the truth because he's in a Jim Carrey movie.
Right?
Now, okay.
There was a guy recently who was weighing in and tried to hang on to the towel the way he didn't even try and hang on to the towel. He just like touched it or something.
Yeah,
and the people holding the towel like ripped that thing down. They're like, no, you can't touch the towel.
Yeah, go fuck yourself. That's what they
No,
said.
you're not.
Yeah.
You're not Cormier. You're not DC. Only DC gets to grab the towel.
You don't get DC status to fight Anthony Rumble Johnson, an inhuman piece of metal.
Right?
Like, you're just a local piece of shit.
Although, now that I think about it, does anybody remember where was that fight that DC held onto the towel? That
Anthony
was New
Rumble
York.
Johnson. Yeah, it was New York MMA. It was part of their long night of.
Oh, well, there you go. It
wins.
was the effing New York Fight Commission.
New York Athletic Commission.
They were such
They're
pieces of
geniuses.
shit. Yeah.
Now let's do this. Here's a little drive-by of what we had. We also had Ricardo Lorenzo Lamas knocking out Jason Knight.
Yeah.
Aljamain Sterling taking out Henan Barao, who looked a little rusty. You had Brian T. City Ortega getting an amazing guillotine that he is known for. Deep in the third, which I believe is a record that he's had, like, finishes in the third, so good for him. Andre Feely falls to Calvin Cad.
Touchy-feely's dead to me, Raph. I'm saying it out loud.
Fine. Then, of course, some other stuff happened. Alexandra Albu and Kaylin Karan was supposed to be fight of the night until Dana White was like, oh shit, it's women. Never mind.
Under no circumstances. Next fight.
It's not Rose or Paige.
Exactly. And then at the very end of all of this, and I was very happy to see this, our good friend Drew Dober ended up getting a knockout victory very quickly and making me feel at ease for the rest of the night.
Which he called on this podcast 3 weeks ago. He sounded uber confident. We even called him out on it. We were like, you sound good. He's like, I mean, yeah, I'm fighting someone. He had it in his voice. It was like, I'm not losing this fight.
And let me be very clear. The day before at the weigh-ins, I was outside and I saw Josh Berkman walking out. Now, the weird part was there was rumors that he wasn't going to make weight. It was starting to make the rounds, but he made it and he was fine. They were looking at him very closely. It got reported, I don't know if it's erroneously, but he ended up making weight still somehow, but they said he went to the hospital. But when he walked by me, Kev, I couldn't help but think, like, you're fighting my boy Drew. I don't know how I feel about that. So I got really, really protective for a split second.
Think about screaming at him, getting in his head.
Absolutely. I was thinking about it right then and right there. That happened, but I couldn't help but look over and I was like, yo, dude, you going up against my boy Drew. Stay healthy, all right? I want to see you tomorrow. I want to see you fight him. And I was like, nah, I won't say anything. No, I'm going to let him be. And sure enough, Drew took care of him very quickly. And Kev, would you like to know where Drew had his official post-treat meal at?
As a fat kid that plans on taking him to waffle, I'm going to take him to chicken and waffles at Ophelia's. I got to hear
Oh, no, Kevin. He ended up having his meal at In-N-Out Burger. Fans rejoice.
Oh, crushing.
He admitted it.
So, I like In-N-Out.
Yeah.
Wait,
I'm a big fan.
You should be. Good.
Drew publicly stated on this podcast it was a fourth best burger chain at best. He was very insidious
Third or
about
fourth
it.
best?
He had some
Say hi to
choice
Verbal
words.
Tap Podcast.
He had some choice words.
Verbal Tap Podcast. Say hi. I'm on it. Yeah, I'm on it.
Hi, Verbal Tap.
Hello, everybody.
Eddie says hi. He was hi.
Awesome.
He calls you Verbal Pop.
We'll tell him we enjoyed EBI 12.
And if he'll call us Verbal Bottom, I'd be more pleased. I also have an idea about weed Friday night matches, but I'll pitch him when I
Just come to Penn Planet on any day of the week. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I was about to say, Kev, maybe you didn't watch the opening scene
I live
from
in Denver.
this EBI.
You just want to come in right now? Like, I can go inside. We could have a weed match.
I live in Denver. This is serious to me.
That's every night.
It's actually, as a matter of fact, I'm just going to go borrow somebody's vape pen right here.
It's
hey,
a point of pride.
So I bet you guys are wondering, if you're listening in right now, who ended up winning the bet between Kevin and the girls from Matt Therapy. I want to ask this.
Okay.
Becky, how strong do you feel that you did with your partner in crime on this pay-per-view betting?
I definitely know there's a couple of them that we did not win on.
That was
okay.
Beautifully put.
I can kind of remember, I remember what my choices were, but I don't remember off the bat all of Kevin's choices. I know we matched on a few of them.
You did?
So I feel good.
Okay, Dawna, did you at any point, you ran into me at EBI and you were telling me you couldn't remember who was doing what. Did that scare you when you were watching it live because you're there and trying to immerse yourself and then you have to remember, oh shit, who did I pick?
No, I remember who I picked, but I was like, fuck, what am I going to have to do now? Because I know two of my picks lost, and after that I was like, shit, what am I going to have to do now?
Graded 6, Dawna.
Well, here's the good news, guys. I can reveal to you right here, right now, that Kevin ended up winning. And it was, I believe, 8-5. Hold on, let's relax. Some props. Kevin doesn't win against a lot of people, let alone combinations of podcasts that are rivals to us. Now, Kevin, tell us what it is they're going to be doing.
Rolling with badasses, getting an ass beating. I'll take Donna's video first. She can choose as the person currently still healthy, because had I had to take this, and I'm going to make I'm going to meet them halfway, Raph. Because, I didn't deserve this win. The winds just blew in my direction. The right strain before the podcast. I credit my weed dealer.
Of course, you painted
MMJ
with all the
America,
colors of the wind.
A professional pharmacist, as much as I do anything else. And all I'm going to say in this case is, one of them owes me a video with Marvin Castile, notorious leg attacker and rolling violence.
Wait, am I allowed to fight back, or do I just have to defend for 5 minutes?
Absolutely, you get to fight back. I'm just curious about the roll video. You owe this to me. I'm going to study it and use it because I don't have that kind of time. I can't train.
Do I sound scared? Please, I'll do it.
You also, one of you promised to deliver Eddie. So, take your choices. And I know Becky's injured. I can relate. I go into surgery 9 days from now. I vomited when they told me about it because I'm not that tough. So we're right there in the same place. I'm just saying I expect those videos in dedication to Verbal Tap Podcast. So we can air them for the general consumption of hey, and I like watching 10th Planet people roll. You can say a lot of things about people from 10th Planet, but you're not boring.
I stand by my bet. So
you're never boring.
I lost. I apparently lost. Supposedly it's fair and square. I don't know. I still want to recount, but whatever. But I stand by my wins and my losses. So if I lost, I will get you that video.
Awesome. You definitely lost.
See? We are women of our word.
Exactly.
And of heel hooks, if I know your
That's true.
senseis.
Those too. And
they cannot be taking it easy. You have to come in like a competitive role.
And a
so,
great podcast. Yeah,
I'll tell you what Eddie said. You want to know what Eddie said this afternoon? We were sitting on the mat, and he looked over at Marvin and a couple other guys. He goes, "Hey, no more going easy on the girls. You got to start kicking their asses."
Uh-oh.
I was like, "Do they go easy on us? I've never experienced that."
To be fair, though, at the HQ, there is not really a light speed. So I'd hate to see whatever that mega speed is.
Yeah, so I'm like, because he was like, see, if Lila's like, we would have gone harder on Lila. Her guard would have been better. So the guy's got to start going harder on you. And I was like, Eddie, they go pretty hard on us. And he was like, no. I'm like, okay.
Cue to the guys, Marvin being like, yeah, got it, Eddie. And then them all turning to each other like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, how do we amp this up anymore? I've been doing it all. So.
Well, ladies, I have to say it has been a pleasure to get to chat with you guys. We will resume our feud at the end of this.
Damn
show.
right.
But we will say this. We are happy that you guys were able to come on. It was a momentous week, I think, for everybody. I mean, we were excited to be there at EBI 12 covering it. We were happy to see you guys happy. Dawna, you were doing a great job as a coach. Like, it looked like everything was firing at all cylinders. And, obviously you guys got to go to UFC as well, and you had your beach event, which, by the way, shout out to Uncle Hanach for doing that for you guys. And
Thank
we
you
just
so
want
much. We love coming on and hanging out with you guys. I mean, we do have to hang out with you when we're on here, Ralph. But aside from that, hanging out with Kevin is cool.
Boom.
Can't win them
So
all.
I've heard, except for the fact that clearly I'm the more likable of the two of us. But that's fine. That doesn't get into a popularity.
Just according to most listeners.
Hey, you guys. I'm standing in front of 10 Planet, right? And there's a couple standing like directly across from me at 12 o'clock across the street, making the fuck out. They're like,
Good for
it's
them.
cool. We're just gonna right here
To
in this
LA,
alley in
it's
the middle of
summertime.
downtown LA.
They found happiness in 2017. We should just applaud it and be like, yeah, let's do it.
I love it. Well, let's do this. We're going to go ahead and cut off and sign off here. Ladies, can we take care of any sponsors or any plugs before we get you on out?
Matt Therapy Podcast. You got to check it out.
Hex Performance detergent. The stuff is legit. They are our sponsor, and if you go to hexperformance.com and use MattTherapy20, you get 20% off your order. And somebody actually said to me today while we were rolling, it was Jonathan Santa Maria, the fighter. He was like, "Hey, how come we're all so sweaty, but you still smell so good?" And I was like, "Hex Performance." So how about that?
Yep. It's good stuff.
It is.
And
Awesome.
So the Punch Gunk, which is a
Yes.
Oh yeah, shout out.
It's like a topical ointment for soreness, for pain, for muscles, but it goes on like a lotion. It's amazing. And people, I think Dawna was using it for when she was cutting weight for the qualifier, right?
I was.
Yeah.
Yes, I was.
Damn, yo, I actually used some of that over at the house. I think somebody left some over at the Jiu-Jitsu club, and it was really effective. It was amazing. Thank you.
Right?
That was, my back. Thanks you for that. All right, ladies, we are happy to have you here. We look forward to seeing your rolling videos, and we also look forward to seeing you guys at the USSGL because they are going to be a part of our broadcast team. So
we're doing the live post stream, right?
I believe we're doing. Yeah, you guys are doing post whatever. I don't know. We're figuring that part out. But they're going to be there, and they're going to be doing.
How's that? We'll be there. Whatever you want us to do, we'll be there.
And we couldn't be more excited because it's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll continue the shenanigans there. But for night, thank you guys so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so
for
much
having us,
for having
guys.
us. So much fun.
Now I guess we're gonna have to have you on our show, Ralph.
Fine, whatever.
No. Raph, what a podcast. We both enjoyed the S out of EBI 11. I will also say, we talked a little bit, obviously, about the fight and about how it went, which was interesting towards Cormier and then towards John Jones. I want to compliment John Jones' after speech. He apparently put a lot of thought into this. Didn't take many parsed jabs towards the end of it. Actually, I remember watching his video in the hype fight part, and it was mostly him being like, we've got a lot of history. I'm going to beat him up. It was like, feels like a softer tone. And it was like he kind of knew there's just no way he's getting beat tonight. And he had that swagger about him. Beat him up, compliments him, calls out Brock fucking Lesnar. Raph, you're the foremost jiu-jitsu WWE expert, which is painful for me to say out loud. I hope the audience knows it. What do you think of what he did?
I want to tell you this right here, right now. We have evidence that supports that, Kevin. I was covering all of the festivities last week. So I was covering, you name it, from the open workouts to the press conference to the weigh-ins. At the press conference, there was a whole weird aspect of John Jones where he looked uncomfortable. Like when he told Luke Thomas, I don't like you, so I'm not going to answer that. Everybody was like, ooh, he shut him down. I was like, no, he was just a dick. It didn't make any sense. Like, why? Who the fuck is picking on Luke Thomas? So that continues. After we get the Luke Thomas diss, then Daniel Cormier looks at him, and John Jones has this bald head, and he just goes, Daniel, which one of us looks like the crackhead? And I'm like, the dude with the bald head sweating profusely and a shiny forehead who looks like they would go ahead and take a little fucking dime bag of anything somebody had in their hands. Still you, John. Still you.
You're looking awfully skinny.
There was a great moment where John, he was in his seat and he had to acknowledge Daniel got him when he's like, nah, man, you still look like a crackhead. And then he just froze. Now, as a performer, I look at him and I go, he's not fully the heel. Like, he doesn't know how to be the heel. And somebody was talking to me, Sean Quinlan, I believe. He was saying, hey, it just didn't look right, or what do you think of it? And I was like, it didn't have a good enough solid feel. Like, it didn't feel like a great burn. It just felt like he was saying shit just to say it, which sometimes happens. But it was in particular where the two of them were like, will you guys ever bury the hatchet? And they're both like, no. And then, of course, as all the shit happens, then they're like, best friends. And they're John saying, I want to be more like that man. Like, it's one thing to say, like, Kev, man, I've been talking so much shit about Kevin. I'm sorry that I said he's a failure of the Kansas City education system. I'm sorry I said I would.
I didn't mean that.
Run over him with a lawnmower. But he's the man I aspire to be like. I'm even sure you would be like, that's a little much. Right?
Even now, if the audience can't see it, I gave a hard glance to your Skype profile. It's like
But here's the reason why that's important, and the more and more important note of saying the WWE BJJ aspect. There was what we refer to as the double turn. Double turn, Kevin. When did that happen? Well, I'll tell you. That was with Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I was going to say early 70s, a little pornographic film called Student and Teacher 14.
Oh, Jesus. So Stone Cold is in a sharpshooter but isn't going to tap. And so what happens here is he's supposed to be the bad guy, but in not tapping to a move, he is slowly winning over the crowd while Bret Hart, the good guy at the very beginning, was doing nefarious kind of like, oh shit, he hit him with a bell, and he was doing kind of heelish things so that the good guy becomes the bad guy and the bad guy becomes the good guy. And I thought that was initially what was happening when Daniel Cormier was walking out of the octagon. And I go, double turn. I've seen this before. Yep. That's what's happening.
Turns out he just had a concussion, everybody.
He had a little bit of a concussion. And where people were like, well,
that's not funny, but in this context.
I want to see the doctor's note on that. But I guess
he might have been turned heel, then was like, shit, I'll act concussed. Or he had a concussion. It was one of those two. I'm not going to say which I think it was.
He narrowed it down. But don't mind you, the fact that, like one of the audience people who, when we brought up the Ronda thing, was like, he went back in there and he spoke his heart out. Yeah, after Dana probably threatened to take away one of his UFC handles.
After Dana was like, I'm going to fucking cut you, Daniel Cormier, if you don't get in this. I'm going to stab you on national television. Hey, and he believed it because he just got hit in the head really hard.
I fucking cut you worse than I fucking cut Tyron Woodley because fuck that guy. And fuck you, GSP, I fucking love you. So anyway, there was a lot of nonsense that happened, but I will tell you, I thought the double turn was definitely in play. And by the end of it, John Jones suddenly became this hero again. And now that we're talking a little bit about John Jones, let's end on this, children. The big thing we should talk about. Did you want to see John Jones versus Brock Lesnar? Because why?
I'm in. I do want to see it. I don't even know why. But I'm like, yes. 100%. John Jones is untouchable in the octagon. When was the last time he lost? Has he in, I don't know, 15 years? Lost. It's been a little while. He's very good at
He only
MMA.
questionably lost to, not questionably, but he was so savagely beating Matt Hamill that it was a no contest because he elbowed him too hard.
That's what the record sounds shows. Right, by the way.
Anyway,
it's like Gustafsson is the only person that's come close to doing anything to him.
It's true. So now that we're talking about that, John Jones, this whole Brock Lesnar thing, they now put a storyline in the WWE that says if Brock Lesnar loses at SummerSlam, so they're playing into this, so be careful what you read into it. But if Brock Lesnar loses his title at SummerSlam, him and Paul Heyman are out of the WWE. They will leave. So you better believe that Vince is sitting there going, good, the people. Let's go ahead and make use of the UFC. Because that's what's happening. So now you have this thing where people are vaguely interested in it. Why? Because it's a freak show. John Jones was very nicely saying after he took the whole, John Jones, if you want to get beaten by, a kid who's 40 pounds less than you weigh,
40
which is
pounds
generous.
lighter.
Generous. It's like Kevin saying he is 40 pounds lighter than me is like, you sure about that, Kevin? I'd like to see those numbers.
I don't disagree with your general sentiment that maybe Jon Jones walks a smidge higher than 240, 250 when he's really feeling at his height of I don't have to make weight in a while. But what's Brock Lesnar really? A solid 325.
I have heard Brock has been at 3. I have heard that when he cuts, he gets down to 265.
I believe that.
I think the last time, that was like in his prime. I think he might somewhere be around 230, which is like at his prime, like him competing weight. But I got to go double check all those numbers. I just know that Jon Jones at his heaviest was even suggesting 230.
That gives a good representation of what we're talking about. Yeah, that means Jon Jones is probably going to come into fight camp at 230 at tops.
Oh, absolutely. And even then, like, how comfortable is he going to be giving up all of that?
I think he's going to be fine. He's going to knock the shit out of him. That's the only sad part about this. I was like, I want to see it. I want to be super clear. Interested in that fight. Jon Jones versus a giant. I'm in. And Brock Lesnar serves a very interesting purpose. If only, he wasn't currently struggling with a certain USADA wrist slap. That who can even remember? Wasn't it just Ritalin? Anybody could have accidentally slipped him Ritalin. He's a champion. Let's sanction this fight. I think this is a
reason I put up a meme that said USADA is salivating at the thought of drug testing these two athletes. Right. Read into that what you will.
Who else?
Say what you will about Brock Lesnar. At least Brock Lesnar isn't going around saying it was dick pills. Brock Lesnar literally just goes, nope, I'll go to the WWE. Bye, everybody.
Peace be the journey, my friends. It was steroids. I'll see you guys on the other side. Who else, though? Like, this is the difficult part. It's like, who else does he fight? A linebacker from the Pittsburgh Steelers? It doesn't even... Who's next for him?
There's no peace until I see an Undertaker rematch, but that's what it is.
Oh, my God. Sorry, I'm interested in that fight too. But maybe the real version, I guess. It's probably going to be hard to get. I do like the idea of Jon Jones fighting people bigger than him. I'm interested in this idea.
Well, he's not interested in anybody but Brock because he has learned from guess who, Kevin? Conor McGregor.
Fuck. Okay.
He said Conor McGregor opened his eyes at the press conference, and now he sees the way to make money. So they're like, what about Stipe? And he's like, oh, no. I'm not interested.
I hate it with these guys that were slow learners. It's like, Jon Jones, you've been watching what he's been doing for a long time. You just didn't think it worked until it was a massive payday. Now you're like, my eyes are wide open like it was some religious epiphany. Bullshit.
Here's what
happened for a long time. Now you're in, and I get it. He's making a lot of money, so you should be in. But there's no
Jon Jones was
boxer.
thinking about it like this, though. Jon Jones literally went in and said, fuck, I want to fight Mayweather too. Can we make that happen? They're like, in no way. And he goes, well, then find me the opposite of Mayweather. And they're like, Brock Lesnar. And he's like, now Perfect. We're talking.
It is opposite Mayweather. Also, I want to be on board for the Mayweather-Brock Lesnar fight. That might get rumored. I've heard.
We'll see what we can do.
It's in the works. And I'm surprised to hear Jon Jones wasn't calling out Conor McGregor. I guess he thinks he'd beat his ass. I don't know.
I don't know what makes him suggest that.
Yeah, it is tough pickings for Jon Jones because he does have to skid that delicate line of like, you're clearly the best fighter in the world, and it's not close, which is so fucking funny because you have a blue belt around your waist. I'm going to be pissed about that for 3 weeks. Maybe 4. And, Raph, we've exhausted this. We've now both learned I'm in on the Lesnar, you're less in, which is surprising. I want to play a game called Our Favorite Places. I want to do, this is just verbal tap, pure shout-outs because we like our audience. You dare say we're in love with you. It's a big part of why we do what we do. We want to talk about the top cities and top countries. Top 5 countries, top 10 cities. Raph, are you ready?
For a second, I thought you said top 10 titties, and I was in. But I'm less in, but sure.
Okay, well, it is definitely cities. I am going to be super clear.
So close.
5th country, Japan. which really feels good.
Mm.
I've heard great things about their infrastructure. And just in general, a place I want to go eat for 2 weeks. It's on my list. It's on my hit that country list. Canada, number 4.
Of course, because of me, number 1 GSP all time.
For fuck's sake, I knew we were going to lose. That's why I thought Raph didn't chime in Japan.
That's
GSP,
fine. No, it's fine.
professional fighter, garbage man previously, bone collector, dinosaur enthusiast most recently, kind of a current MMA prospect. How do you feel about Canada being the 4th-rated country in the Verbal Tap list?
I feel it is very good. I think that is very nice. Obviously, I've lent my GSP-ness to attract the people for you.
You're a polite group, and you're just so well kept for being winter people. You're so in shape.
Absolutely. I also want to say, Michael Bisping, I look forward to pretending to fight you in several months.
Ooh, 3rd-ranked country, the United Kingdom. How do you feel about that?
I don't particularly like number 1 person from there. I will be very honest. Michael Bisping has been talking a lot of trash about GSP.
Sorry, for a second I was like, the Beatles?
Spice
no.
Girls? GSP has no respect for the Spice Girls because their song "Too Much Is Not Enough" is inaccurate.
Yeah. Well, listen to "Wannabe" and tell me you don't have a soul. How's that?
I will tell you, spice up your life and shut the fuck up. Number 1.
Let alone the movie. Ladies and gentlemen, welterweight champion Georges St. Pierre.
Ole, 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 ole. Late podcast rapid with GSP. Okay, bye.
He only comes in when we mention Canada. In second, Australia. Our friends that brought us the horrible script of Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles, but the amazing scripts of Crocodile 1D and 2.
Yep. Is that where the dingo ate my baby? Like, I always get this confused.
I just remember Paul Hogan being super in leather. That might be Lightning Jack. That's not Australian at all. Kit Dale's from there, so it's fine. And I love all the shark documentaries and the surfing stuff that comes out of this place. So Australia's big on my list, Ralph.
I believe Dingo's Ate My Baby. It says Australian accent.
Sounds right.
Maybe the dingo. Okay, I'm good.
Have you been to Australia?
I have not.
I haven't been to Australia either. Crushing.
Interesting.
Neither of us visit the country. It's crushing.
Here's the thing, Kev. I think what we should do is put a pin on our top countries. Let's finish this, and then next week we're going to reveal our top cities.
Did you say cities?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm in.
Well, wait. Were you thinking I was going to say titties? Because now I'm back on the titty train.
Now I was also on the titty train. Yeah, for sure. You're like, let's look at the top 10. Doesn't matter. Top country in the United States. Our home turf.
You're still number 1. America
holds it in at number 1. Let's keep our wits about us. This is becoming an international sensation, and we love that because we love the world. The Africa representation we have, I'm very proud of.
It's true.
Asia is crushing it. We're just going to have to get a little bit closer. And Sweden, step up your game if you want to be in the top 5. Ooh. Is that where Koval's from?
Yes.
Oh. Yeah. You know what you did, Sweden. Ref, that's going to do it for us tonight here at Verbal Tap. You ready for some shout-outs?
Let's do it.
I'm going to start to the phlebotomy team at Kaiser. You're crushing it. You're crushing your department. To the MRI team, we're doing okay. I mean, it was a little early, but I really appreciated the bigger room and the view on the MRI machine. That was awesome. To the surgical team, we're getting our steps in line, Raf. We're doing okay. Dr. Shore, you terrify me, I think in a good way, and I'm 95% sure you're not listening to this. / 100% sure you might be. You seem that intensively focused on my body. We've had some discussions that weren't comfortable, / comfortable, / discouraging. So to the Kaiser surgical team, we are now 9 days away from D-Day, Raf. 9.
Wow, dude. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
I've had 4 vodkas tonight, so I'd say I'm ready. I'm not ready. I'm struggling with this, But that's going to do it for me to the surgical. I'm not ready to give him a full shout out. I'm not going names and such until we get a little closer past recovery. And it's like, hey, your finger still works. And we think we did it. November 10th is my retraining deadline. Just saw Ashley got a little banged up, hurt her knee, didn't fix itself. So to the teammate, also struggling with an injury, I get it. And Raph, that's going to do it for me.
Well, let's go ahead and start here. I went to go visit PCW Wrestling. The champ over there, Douglas James, we're aware of him. We've seen him. But we got a nice video up on the Real Heel section. We'll be ramping up those podcasts again very soon, probably closer to SummerSlam. But I had an excellent time going to see him. He unfortunately won. Not much I can do on that, but you can check out some of those videos. I also have some video coverage that I did over at UFC 214. Shout out to Sam Fagan Photography. Awesome. I want to thank everybody at EBI. Thank you guys for making it so easy. It's so great. I love running into people. So every time there's a lot of people, Kevin, who keep looking at me and pointing and being like, verbal tap. And I'm like, yes. And they're like, I don't like your show. And I'm like, well, get the fuck out of my way then. So it's a very cordial thing that I think happens. I also want to shout out my sister. She came to do photography with us at EBI. She was a great help. Of course, our USSGL buddies of Mike Frosto and Octavio Villanueva. Awesome stuff again. Guys, we're getting there. We're getting to that point where we're about to get to competition for the USSGL. That's going down August 12th, August 13th. Right. August 13th.
Right.
Yes.
Hold on. What's that? What's the USS?
The USSGL, it's the U.S. Submission Grappling League, an organization that I happen to be a part of.
Sorry, the thing you've been working tirelessly for. I just forgot about it. I'm back.
That's fine.
I apologize. You've been working.
If you guys want to go ahead and
buy an aircraft carrier, it's going to be very cool, I've heard.
Thank you very much. You can register at ussgl.com/register, or just head to our USSGL website, and that is ussgl.com. We want you guys to compete. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a little clue. If you want to compete and you want it for cheaper, use the promo code EBI, okay? Use that code and it'll save you a little bit of cash. And we want you guys to come compete because it's going to be a badass show. So on the 13th, we have the open tournament, hopefully with John Jones. We'll see. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. He hasn't said no yet.
He hasn't said no, but we only put it up an hour ago. So we got that going on. And then we have an open competition. We're giving away over $7,000 of prize money that weekend, Kevin. So we've got some prize money for our absolute winners. So our one absolute on the men's side, our one absolute on the women's side, and both gi and no gi. So we want to make sure we get those numbers up so we can get you guys the money. And then, if you sign up for our tournament, that means then on August 12th, you can come see our Deep Waters Invitational. And you could see people like Catherine Shen, Keith Kokorian, Juan Bernardo, Jeff Rial, Ethan Krellinston. I mean, the names go on and on and on. I mean, people who you've seen at EBI will be there and competing. And I'm so excited. I'll be doing commentary. The ladies from Matt Therapy are going to be working there too. So you want to be a part of it. Again, ussgl.com/register. And if you don't want to go ahead and compete, come watch. It's going to be a fantastic spectacle. So my thanks to them. My thanks to Valley Martial Arts Center. They've got a tournament too. I'll come back around to tell you more about that after we get that going. But it's True Blue, and you can find out more about that at valleymac.com. $40 for blue belts in the Valley area. And I believe, Kev, that will do it for me.
That'll do it for us tonight here at Verbal Tap. I'm Kevin. Thank you for listening.
Good night and good fight.
John Jones shin.
Wow, it still hurts.
The number you have dialed is not in service at this time.